Hi, my name is Deb Weiss-Gelmi, and this is a gentle yoga class that specifically does not go to the floor. So for some people, going down to the floor for some of the poses is a challenge. So this particular sequence is going to not go to the floor. So we're going to use a few props. If you have a folding chair at home, that could be really helpful. Or you can just use a dining room chair, something, some simple chair will do. And then if you have yoga blocks, that's great. And if not, something about that size and stability. Sometimes maybe even just a footstool in your house or a stack of some books. So if you do need to get something, you can pause the video and come back with some props. Otherwise, we're going to get going. So our first pose, we're going to start out in the chair actually. So you can put the chair facing the video. And then when you sit down on the chair, scoot yourself to the front of the chair so it's just your buttocks on the chair and not your thighs. And then you'll just put your hands on top of your thighs and then move from the back armpit to the front armpit. Another way to say that is lift the front armpit higher than the back armpit, which lifts that chest up. Broaden across the collarbones and take your shoulders away from the ears. Now notice your feet. You want your heels right underneath your knees. And then press through the inner heel and big toe mound so the legs aren't just splaying out to the side. So press the inner feet down, but soften the inner thighs. You can even think of rolling the outer thighs up very slightly, but rest the palms onto your thighs. Lift the sternum up. And then you can close your eyes. Let go of the muscles in your face. Soften your cheeks and your jaw. You're lifting your sternum. You're lifting your front chest up, but your shoulders go down toward the hips. You're lifting your front armpit chest up and soften the face. Just feel where you come into contact with your feet on the floor, feeling the balls of the toes on the floor, feeling the full circle of your heel on the floor, feeling where you come into contact with the chair. And notice if you're holding tension in your shoulders or the muscles around your neck. Try to release that tension. Flow from your shoulders down through your inner elbows toward the floor. And then very gently open your eyes. Try not to focus too quickly on anything. Just allow your eyes to open back up. Now we're going to twist to the right. So lengthen through the crown of your head up and then twist to the right. If you have the chair behind you, you can use that edge of the chair to hold on to. You can bring your left arm around and just use that leverage of those two things to twist the body around. A very gentle twist to start. Try to keep the inner thighs soft. Again, lifting that front armpit chest up and slowly unwind. And then we'll go to the other side. So you can grab the chair, bring your hand around to the other side, and twist. Soften the inner thighs. The heels are still right underneath the knees. And twist. Again, relax those shoulders. If you notice your shoulders are tensing up, take the shoulders away from the ears, lift the sternum up toward the ceiling. Soften the face. So lengthening through that spine, up through the crown of the head, and then twisting more. Very gentle twist. And then Slowly unwind. And then we'll stand for Tadasana. Our first standing pose. Tadasana means mountain pose. And so keep that chair nearby because we'll use it for some of our other poses. So Tadasana, press through the inner heel, big toe mound. Press the thighs back gently and the middle buttock forward gently. And then lift the side chest up, shoulders away from the ears. Point the fingers toward the floor slightly. Soften the face. Tadasana. Feel your feet on the floor and notice if they tend to be rocking at all. And try to steady the feet and distribute the weight in your feet equally. Across the balls of the toes, the big toe mound to the little toe. And then that full circle of the heel. Feel that full circle of the heel. Notice if you're rolling off your inner heel and press that down as well. So Urdhva Astasana, take your arms out in front of you. Hug the muscles around the elbow, straightening those arms, and take your shoulders away from your ears. And then take the arms up, and as you take the arms up, move that inner upper arm toward the wall behind you, lengthening up. Soften the face. Inner upper arms toward the wall behind you. Spread the palms wide. And then notice your feet again. Have you rocked to the side at all? Press those thighs back. Middle buttock forward a bit for stability in those legs. And then bring the arms down. Notice your arms in front of you. If you've got them straight, or if you might be able to straighten them a little bit more. And then take the arms down to the side. Urdhva Astasana. Now we're back to Tadasana. So Utthita Trikonasana is our next pose, also called triangle pose. So this is where we can use the chair or the blocks to support your hands. Sometimes some don't need either. So you'll find out as we get going what you might need for those. So you'll take your feet wide. And in these first poses, oftentimes we don't take our feet wide enough. So ideally, try to get the heels out. So if there's a straight line up from the heels to the wrist, try to spread those legs wide. And then turn your feet to the right. So that back heel drops back a bit, the whole right leg goes out. And then this is where that chair, you can pull the chair right in over your feet. So when we tip down, you can take your hand to that chair. So put the top hand on the hip for a moment, roll the chest open. Press through the outer edge of the back foot and the big toe mound in this front foot. And then twist the chest away from that. So the different heights. So if you have the chair there, you can also have the block at the different heights, the high, medium, low height. You can also have your hand on your shin for this pose. And then you can take your arm up to the ceiling, spread across the chest, shoulders away from the ears. And then if you want to, you can look up toward the ceiling. If there's any tension in your neck, just look forward again. And then to come out, press through the outer edge of that back foot to bring yourself up, toes forward. And then let's bring our feet back together so you can move your chair to the other side. Okay, so we take our feet wide. And then just making sure that chair is right in there. Turn your feet to the left. Press through the outer edge of the right foot, the big toe mound in the front, and then tip over to the side. Taking that hand down to the chair seat or to the block. Top hand on the hip for a moment, roll the chest open. Roll the chest open, pressing through that outer edge of the back foot and the big toe mound in that front foot. And and extend the arms straight up. Spread across the collarbones, shoulders away from the ears. You can look up to those fingertips or your head forward. And then to come out, press through the outer edge of the back foot to bring yourself up. Toes forward, and then bring your feet back together. And this next one's called Badanguliasana, where we clasp our fingers together, take the palms forward, shoulders away from the ears, and then take the arms up, overhead, palms facing up toward the ceiling. So soften the face, but draw the outer arms toward each other. Feel the base of your body, at the base of the body, meaning what's touching the floor. So your feet, notice the stability of your feet. Pressing through the inner feet. Feeling the balls of the toes. Sometimes it's nice to lift up the toes for a moment so you can feel the balls of the toes. And then set those toes down gently. Feel the heels. Feel that full circle of the heel of your feet. And then we'll bring our hands down and we're going to switch the clasp of our hands. So if you look at my hands here, my front thumb here is going to switch and be the back thumb, and all of the fingers are going to switch to the opposite way. And then take the palms forward again, out in front of your chest, and then up toward the ceiling. So again, press through the inner heel, big toe mound, lengthen the arms, the palms up toward the ceiling. Draw your outer arms in, shoulders away from the ears, soften the face. Badanguliasana. This is really great for opening up that side chest that we often roll forward while we're driving or writing or typing. And then release the clasp of your hands, palms face each other, shoulders away from the ears, and then bring those arms back down. So our next pose is called Virabhadrasana 2. We don't need the chair in this one, but we can take it back to your right side in case we need it in a little bit. So Virabhadrasana 2. Now this is one where you might want to, any of these poses, you might want to be right up against the wall for balance. Having your back against the wall is a nice stability thing. So you can take your mat right to the wall if you wish to do that. So start in Tadasana. Feet together if they go together, otherwise hip distance apart, parallel to each other. So we start in Tadasana, and then take your feet wide. And then turn your feet to the right. So that back heel drops back a bit. The front heel lines up with the back arch. And then to bend the right leg, we soften the inner thigh to get that knee right over the heel. Press through the outer edge of that back foot. Spread the arms wide and look over the right fingertips. Now your knee might not bend quite as much as mine does, but you want to try it so the heel is over that knee. So if you're a little higher up, it'll look more like this. So the knee right over that heel is what you're searching for. Spread the arms wide and look over those right fingertips. Notice if you're losing that space in the outer edge of that back foot, press down there. Big toe mound in the right foot. And then to straighten the leg, take that top thigh toward the wall behind you to straighten the leg. Toes forward and to the other side. Soften the inner thigh of that leg to bend the knee. Knee right over the heel. And then you can look over those left fingertips. And then to straighten that leg again, press through the outer edge of the back foot and then roll that thigh from the inside out. Toes forward, fingertips together, and jump or step your feet back together. Back to Tadasana. So this next pose, Parshva Asta Padangustasana. you'll take your chair and you'll put it so it's right up against the wall. Right up against the wall, facing, the chair seat facing me. And then you'll face the chair and you'll lift your leg up and put your feet onto the chair. But as you do this, you want to take that top thigh of that leg you're lifting toward the wall and then have your heel right underneath your knee. And in the standing leg, you want your hip right over your heel. So you want the knee right over the heel here, and you want the hip right over the heel in the standing leg. And then you'll lift up. And then lengthen that arm up toward the ceiling, lengthening that whole side of your body. This arm can be at the wall for stability, can be on your leg. You're lengthening that whole side. So this wrist on this hand is lengthening up, off, taking some of those ribs up as you lengthen up, right over that ankle. Notice the standing foot, press through the inner heel, big toe mound. And then the lifted bent leg, press through the inner heel, big toe mound. That arm that's up, move that inner upper arm toward the wall behind it. And then the outer hip that's closest to the wall goes toward the floor. And we'll bring that arm back down, take that leg toward the floor, back to Tadasana. And then we'll turn the chair to the other side so your lifted leg is close to the wall. So you start in Tadasana. And then as you lift that leg that's closest to the wall, as you lift it, take that thigh from the inside out, place the heel right underneath the knee. So again, my hip of the standing leg is right over the heel, my knee of the standing leg is right over the heel. And then this lifted leg, that top thigh moving from the inside out, and also cutting that outer hip down toward the floor of the leg that's closest to the wall. And then extend your arm up. Your other hand can be at the wall for guidance, or stability, or you can have your hand on your leg. Reach that top arm up, lengthening again that wrist away from that heel on the floor, lengthening that side of the body, but also cutting that hip toward the floor on the other side, the closest to the wall. And then bring that arm down, use the wall for stability as you bring that foot back down. Okay, so the next one is Utthita Marichyasana. Utthita Marichyasana 3. So I'm going to have some stability behind me with the wall, maybe some elbows at the wall, maybe a little bit. You don't want your back body sitting against the wall, but you want your elbows to be able to touch the wall for stability. And you'll bring the chair into you. And then we're going to start with your right leg, lifting up onto the chair. And then notice how much distance is between the back of the chair and my leg. So I'm going to bring that foot back down. I'm going to move myself closer to the back of the chair here. And then bring that foot up again so it's a little more stable with that edge of the chair. You can even put your foot right to the edge of the other side. You want to have it so your knee is right over, again, right over that heel. Same with that standing leg, hip right over the heel. And then lifting up. So this pose, we're going to, again, take the arm up opposite of that lifted leg, reach that arm up, lengthen that side, and then we're going to twist toward that bent leg. Take your hand on the outside of that leg and twist. So try to soften the inner thigh. We don't want to tense that inner thigh up, but twist toward that bent leg. Now this back arm, it depends on how tight you are to the wall. It might go back with the palm on the wall, but if you're too close to the wall, then it likely will not. You can just have your arm back there. So you can use this arm for the leverage to twist. Take your shoulders away from the ears, flowing down. And then we'll open back up. Use the stability of the wall and the chair to bring that foot back down. And then we'll turn the chair the opposite way. Now if you felt like you were too close to the wall, you can move a little bit away from the wall. The elbows are to help with stability, but if you feel stable enough with the chair, that's fine too. But just know where that wall is. Okay, so then now we lift up the left leg, put the foot on the chair, making sure we're close enough to this edge here. So the standing leg again, the standing hip is straight over that heel, the knee is straight over that heel, and just like the other pose which you could see from the side before. And then extend that arm up opposite of the lifted leg, so the right arm up, lengthen that side of the body, and then twist, reaching that arm around to the outside of the knee, and then twisting. So again, you can use that wall if it's in a good place for you, but don't strain the front of the shoulder for that. You might also be able to just put it on your hip where the elbow points back a bit. Soften the inner thigh of that bent leg as you twist. Soften the face. And then again, that hip of the outer hip of that lifted leg cuts toward the floor. And then slowly unwind and bring that foot down. And then the next pose is called Uttanasana. It's a forward bend, and depending upon your flexibility, your head will go down to different lengths or different heights. So one nice one is to be able to just rest your head on this chair, but it might be too much for somebody still. So you might have something like a countertop that you can rest your head on. So it just depends on your different, our different flexibility. We're all very different in our flexibility. So if the chair works for you, I'm going to demonstrate with this chair, but if it doesn't work for you, use the height that is like that counter over there would work, maybe a counter or a kitchen table or something. So I'll show you with this. You put your hands onto your hips, so you start in Tadasana. Your feet can be hip distance apart or together. I put my hands onto my hips, point my elbows back, and lift the side chest up. Soften the face. And then as I lean forward, I'll put my hands onto whatever I'm leaning on and to rest my head. So it might be like this. So my hips are too far behind my heels, so I need to move the chair forward a little bit. So your feet can be hip distance apart. And so this could be a version that you do, and if this is good for you, stay here. If you want to go a little bit lower, you can go down toward a chair seat. You can, again, you want your hips right over the heels. You can go down to the chair seat. If you happen to be super flexible, you can, use the block and start to take your head down toward the block and such. So there's different heights of resting for this pose. So you choose the height that is best for you. So Uttanasana. Sometimes we call this pose Ardha Uttanasana if it's half extended forward bend, or intense stretch. So forward bending is calming on the nervous system. So we're starting to enjoy this calming feeling, making sure that your head is resting on something. Could be the arm of the couch, could be a chair, a couch cushion, the back of the couch, something to rest your head on. And then now remember that we are in a bit of an inversion, so when we start to come out, you want to come out really slowly. So you can start out coming up halfway, to let some of that, to sort of recalibrate yourself from being upside down. And then coming up, just making sure you know where the wall is and stuff. You can put your hands on your hips to lift up like this, and then back to Tadasana. And then Ardha Mukha Svanasana is downward facing dog, and this one has different levels that you can do as well. So just as with the last pose, you can use a countertop or the chair, and this one is just it's lengthening across this way instead of rounding down. So we take our feet back and lengthen forward. This could also be considered Ardha Uttanasana as well, but we're doing it as a downward dog here. So Ardha Mukha Svanasana. Pressing the thighs back away from the hands. Spreading the palms wide on whatever surface they're on and lengthening. Pressing the thighs back can help lengthen the side chest, and then taking those ribs up with the hands to lengthen even more. Lengthening. Now, if you wanted to take your hands to the floor, you could do that, or you could put your hands on the chair. But this particular sequence that we're doing, we're making it so we don't have to go down to the floor. And then to come out, you walk your hands forward, or walk your feet forward. And then we're going to do one more of those. So you'll rest for a moment. So the first one I did my hands on the back of the chair. So I'm going to show you the next one a little bit longer with the hands on the chair seat. Okay, so you'll put your hands onto the chair seat again, and then walk those feet back and lengthen. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Press the thighs back. And again, spread those palms wide. And just as with our standing pose with our arms raised, take your inner upper arm up toward the ceiling. My chair is sliding here, so you want to make sure that your chair is up against the wall or fully on a mat. And then again, you'll walk forward. Just remember you're a bit inverted, so coming up slowly for yourself. And then oftentimes we end yoga with a pose called Shavasana, but we're going to actually end in the chair again in the same way that we started class. Another option would be if you have another chair to rest your head on. That would be an option if you want to do that. I'm going to show you a second chair version, but for the most part, we're going to just end as we did at the beginning, like this. So in a little quiet time. But you can, if you wish, you can rest your head forward on a high chair like this. Okay, this isn't the one I'm going to show you or that I'll do with you, but know that this is an option if you really want that forward calming on the head, and allowing some pressure on that middle of the forehead to help calm. Okay, so for this last bit, we're going to end just as we started. So I'm scooting to the front of the blanket, or front of the chair. Scoot to the front of the chair and allow those hamstrings to just be free. Have your heels right underneath the knees, and just have your hands resting on your thighs. You can close your eyes. Notice if you're holding tension in your inner thighs, and let go of that. Lift your sternum up toward the ceiling, your front armpit chest up, as the shoulders go down, away from the ears and toward the hips. Soften the muscles in your neck and throat. Unhinge your lower jaw from your upper jaw, allowing for a little bit of space between your upper and lower teeth, and just keep the lips gently closed. Soften the muscles of your cheeks, the muscles around your eyes. Soften your eyebrows. And from in between your eyebrows out to your temples, and soften the temples. Keeping the chest lifted, feel the flow of relaxation from the top of your head through, relaxing your neck and throat, relaxing the shoulders, flowing through the inner elbow toward the floor, relaxing your abdomen, softening the inner thighs, letting go of any tension left in the knees, flowing down toward the floor through the calf muscles, to the heels, and letting any tension go. Very gently open your eyes. So you just begin to take light in without focusing really hard on anything, just keeping your eyes soft. And then there is a tradition in yoga at the end of each sequence when we have a class together. We say namaste, which means the light in me honors the light in you, or the best in me greets the best in you. So we join our hands together in the middle of our chest and say namaste. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining us today.